just did a reading on not being seen, not feeling loved, not being seen or understood. Basically, love is about seeing the person, understanding them, having taken the time to be with them, to get to know them. That's love. That's one aspect of love. And I just did a reading. I just posted it on the shorts of my channel. But I also want to talk a little bit longer about this subject because I myself have experienced this in my past relationship, also in my childhood. No, I'm not a victim, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus as far as, oh, they're terrible people, blah. Because what I teach in my, or what I would say teach and coach in my sessions, whether it's a group or in private, is that we create everything with our thoughts. Everything that's happening in our life, we are creating it every moment. So we are not victims at all. There are no victims and there are no perpetrators. And the first time I heard that was my teacher's husband. And I just sat there, are you kidding me? And this was 10 years ago when I started to do release work, right? So you can marinate on that if that doesn't resonate, but it resonates with me now because it takes, you can realize that you are, when you realize that there are no victims or perpetrators, then you take full accountability for your life and be responsible for everything that's happening. If there's something out there that's happening in your life and you don't like it, what is inside of you that is causing that? And I know that's a bitter pill to swallow. And again, it took me a long time to marinate on that one and to really experience it, to believe it. Because at first I was so into victim mode that it was pathetic. So that being said, I want to share with you that for whatever reason that I came into this life, into a family who didn't really take the time to get to know me. It was more about, and they were also another generation of people that didn't have the tools that some of us have now. And they had all these expectations on them. They had to get married, to have kids. And now it's totally different. But then it was forced upon them. So I really understand that too. But as a child, didn't realize that I was searching for that emotional connection. I wanted it and I wasn't getting it. It was more like torture emotionally. It's just like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to get out of the house and be on my own, right? Some people don't have that experience. They have pleasant childhoods, and there are people out there that have had that. So me, on the other hand, I didn't. But here's the thing is, for whatever reason, whatever karma, that's what happened. The flip side of it was that I had all the freedom in the world to go do what I wanted to do. I didn't have family pulling me down and saying, and have strong family ties that were bringing me to doing traditional things because my soul had other ideas. I wanted to do other things. So I had the freedom to do that. So that's the blessing behind it. So nothing is ever all good or all bad. It's always duality, neutral. But what I discovered is that I was not choosing men that were able to really see me for who I was. And the ones that did were my friends. And I chose exactly how my parents treated me. So, but in a way, in a flip side, it's not because, when you're choosing when you're choosing this, you're actually, in my case, I was avoiding having to be vulnerable, just like the avoidance that I chose. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to be accountable. They want to keep everything on the surface. They don't want to look at anything or challenge or really work on things. But I was exactly the same way. And that's what was an eye-opener. I awakened to the fact that I choose people who are unavailable emotionally because it feels like home and I feel comfortable. And then I can be an avoidant too. So that was a big wake-up eye-opener. And so the more I release that tendency, the more what shows up are people who are emotionally available. Now, for some of you, you might be able to relate to this, is that I have friends that are women that I am very close to. I can be totally open and vulnerable with, but for men, I couldn't. And so and interesting how our mind will say, well, it's easy to do that with them, but harder to do it with the opposite sex, or even if it's same sex, doesn't matter. But it's totally, that's where the mind creates these limitations. This is easy, that's hard. So I break free from that tendency of thinking it's hard. And what's showing up for me is men who are emotionally available, who are able to have conversations and not distract the conversations, and to listen and to look into my eyes and to really see me for who I am, which is absolutely so healing, because when that happens, it's like what we all are craving. We all want that. We all want to feel seen, heard, and understood. That's what the world wants. The whole world wants love. But that is one of the biggest components of love, is being seen, heard, and understood. And I also, in my evolution of growing and going through the dark night of the soul, I saw where I wasn't being understanding and seeing people for who they were. Certain situations where I wasn't being loving. And that really is hard to look at, because this is not for the faint of heart. This kind of work is not for the faint of heart at all. Now I understand why people don't do this work, because it's easier to distract ourselves, to numb out in any way, shape, or form. It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be sex, it could be shopping, whatever, Netflix, binge watching. And so it's a way to distract, to not look at ourselves. So going back to the subject of when we are choosing someone who is not able to give us, is not emotionally available, and they can't see you, they don't take the time to see you, and they sum you up. That was my experience. They think they know who I am. And the most important relationship you can ever have is with yourself. And if you know who you are, you're not going to care what they think. But if you don't know who you are, if you're not having a strong relationship with you, which means it's your ego and your highest self, you're going to care too much about what they think, because you're always wanting approval. So in release work, there are 3 words: control, approval, security. So whenever I work with a client, or I do it for myself, I set an intention and I say I allow myself to have the perfect partner. So the mind will come up with all the reasons why you don't think it's possible to have a perfect partner. Well, I was in a toxic relationship before, I don't want that to happen again, I'm scared, blah, blah, blah. All of those are limiting beliefs that are holding us back, and we're holding on to the emotional charge of those, and we don't realize that we're walking right into the next relationship with that baggage. And we think that we're clear, but we're not. So then when we get triggered in the next relationship, we start going, oh my God, they're just like the last one. And that's what happened in my last relationship, is that person had so many filters from the past that they could not see who I was or what I had to offer, or even take the time to do that. So because they haven't healed from their stuff, from their stories, they have this logic of it's happened. They don't see that they're creating it. They keep choosing the same kind of situations with people because they haven't let go of the past. But that's human. That's how we all are. And so when you can catch it, then your life can start to change. Then you can start to eradicate the patterns and start to have healthier relationships and not repeat history. And also, when you find someone who is available, then you're going to have to release even more, especially if you've had trauma like I have in my life, where it'll be too good to be true, where you have to release your fears about that, what's coming in, right? So it's pretty funny, but I don't want anyone to think that, oh my God, I'm broken, I have to do all this work. Releasing is like brushing your teeth. When I start to coach people on releasing, they'll start writing things down, and then they say, I've written everything down, what do I do, burn it? No, actually, it's just the opposite. You're going to continue to keep releasing. And releasing can be deeper, where you see these subconscious tendencies. They're so subtle sometimes, and you see the mind will get, the mind is so irrational sometimes. The mind is very, we need the mind, I'm not poo-pooing that we need the mind. There's so much that we need of the mind, but it also stores a lot of irrational thoughts and feelings. And when you start to dive in and see those irrational thoughts subconsciously, it's hysterical. When I see them, I start laughing so hard. Or crying. And so I'm like, oh my God, I've been holding on to that for years. It's very funny. It's almost like we're like these little kids are pouting about the past. So again, going back to the subject is really letting yourself be seen. And not only that in the world, but also starting to see yourself. Having that beautiful relationship with you and with your higher self, the divine, you can't go wrong. And then you won't tolerate, you won't pick people that are not going to see you or who you are. It's repulsive. You'll be with people that you feel fulfilled being around them. And that love that you're seeking is not even necessarily in a partner. It's everywhere. It's in everyone. And when you can stop basing your happiness on having or not having a partner, then your whole world can open up. And that's what's happened to me. It's just like, I don't feel alone. I don't feel lonely. I don't feel like, oh, I need hugs, I need affection, I need that. No, I don't have that need. I do have the need, but I don't feel needy to, like some people do. And I don't monkey branch around to fill sexual needs, which I don't find attractive at all in anyone. So they don't really value that whole thing. Yeah, it's not high value to them. So for me, I value love and I value connection. And my biggest value is emotional connection and not settling for anything less than that. And of course, the physical has to be there, the chemistry and everything, but it's not the first on the list. It's like somewhere in the middle, you know what I mean? Or maybe top of the list, but it's not the first. And so it's all about, again, with what I've gone through in my own growth, and I continue to grow, is seeing that where I have been an avoidant, where I have not been loving to others, where I wasn't seeing them for who they were, which I don't usually do, because actually I do feel like I do see people, because I am an intuitive and I do readings all the time. And I have friends from the almost 30 years of friendship, and they've always said to me, you see people for who they really are, you see the good in people. And I said, yeah, I do. That's how I survived my childhood. Not to say that my parents were terrible, they're great people. It's just, what I wanted was much more than they could give. So now I'm able to feel that fulfillment within myself and to have this beautiful relationship with myself and to build from there, instead of coming from a sense of lack and filling a void or trying to carry a relationship with someone who clearly could take it or leave it. And so I also want to say that in my last relationship, what I have discovered is that when someone is not willing to really allow for growth and mistakes and whatever, and they shut you off, they go back to their old ways. They go back to what's comfortable, because that is too hard. It's too complicated. It's too challenging for them to actually look at themselves. Instead, they point the finger at you and you're the bad guy. That's what I grew up with. So it's no thanks. Again, because I was holding on to this thought that I've never seen, I've never heard, I've never understood. That's what was running the show. So I was attracting those kind of people who would reflect that back to me. And I was always trying to carry the relationship and trying to make it work and moving across the country to try to make it work. But it was, my tendency was at play. And so releasing is me able to release that tendency so that I stop carrying relationships. It's ridiculous. So, and now, like I said, what's appearing is completely different. So it's possible to change your life drastically and to call in people who are emotionally available, who will really celebrate who you really are, because you celebrate who you really are and you don't keep choosing unavailable people. Pretty cool. So I hope you got something out of this. If you want to book a session, everything is in the description. And also, I started a private Facebook group that is really awesome. It's called Release to Manifest Your Dream Life, and it's more exclusive content from me. I will be announcing events that I have online and in person, and also just a lot of content that you might be interested in if you are following me, or you're not even sure if you want to follow me and you want to get to know me a little bit more. This is something that you could actually jump on. So I will put that link in the description so that you can join, request to join. Have a good day.